Welcome back to the channel. In this video today, I'm going to give you my full opinion on the Somnium VR1 super high-end VR headset. I've had it for well over a month, and in that time I've been giving essential feedback to Somnispace and the VR engineers, as well as testing it every possible moment that I can in order to understand all about this amazing VR headset, which is coming very soon. I'm not going to talk about specifications and technical details in this video. I've gone over that already, and I'll link all of my Somnium VR1 videos in the notes below. This is simply my impressions and honest opinions so far based upon this prototype, because it must be said this is not the final version. Now, in case you've got no idea what I'm talking about, I will just quickly say that this VR headset boasts a dual aspheric lens design, which means it has a much wider field of view than others in its class. The display is also QLED with a resolution of 2880 by 2880, very much like the Pimax Crystal. And I think really one of the main party pieces of this headset is the fact that it has high clarity but also a great field of view with great brightness. There's also 3 different versions available, the first one being just the VR headset with those fantastic visuals, and then you can add eye tracking, or if you really want to, use the full bad boy edition, as we like to call it now, which has 2 dual 12 megapixel color pass-through cameras, which rivals that of the Vario XR3. And in many ways, it's a lot better as well, especially as you don't need a subscription. So with that being said, let's go straight in to talk about the build quality and comfort. So there's no doubt about it, the moment that you open the very nice case, I must say, it gives you a great impression of what to expect. Even though this is a prototype version, the build quality is excellent. It kind of feels like an industrial device, a tool, a professional piece of hardware that will just last you years and years. So let's now talk about comfort, and that's where things do fall down quite a bit for me. It is a big headset, there's no doubt about it, and I think because of that dual aspheric lens design, it does stick out from your face a lot further than any other headset I've ever experienced. So that means you really do feel the weight. This hasn't helped though, because the version I have doesn't have a final strap, nor does it have the final facial interface, which I believe will support the headset a lot better. But I can only say what I've got right now, and that is, even for me, and you know I'm used to wearing big headsets, after about an hour, I've had enough, quite honestly. You know, I've actually tried 2 hours in the headset, and I can manage it, but overall, I think after about an hour, I'm starting to get uncomfortable. It is worth saying though that I do have quite a large head, and Arta and the team have listened to this feedback and since made the head strap much bigger, and so it's able to cup the crown of your head a lot better as well. So I am really looking forward to seeing those revisions, but as it stands at the moment, I do find it an incredibly heavy headset to use, and especially because of the balance. This is why you may see in the videos I'm using a Studioform balancer kit, particularly as an overhead strap. I'm also using a counterweight at the back of the head strap. This certainly does help the situation, and I look forward to trying out the final head strap and facial interface very soon, because that could change things. It's also worth noting that I am using the full edition with the huge sensors and those cameras, so that is going to add additional weight. If you choose to go for the VR1 with just the eye tracking and no mixed reality, it will be substantially lighter. So let's now move on to the important things, image quality and lenses. In essence, this is the best VR image I've ever seen to date in a consumer grade headset. What surprises me about the VR1 is it's able to give you a really nice field of view, but also exceptional clarity. This is sharper than the Pimax Crystal, even though it shares the same display. There's a number of reasons for that. One, the lenses give you a fantastic sweet spot, very close to the Quest 3. And that sounds strange talking about the Quest 3 because it's a very cheap headset in comparison, but I'm talking about just the lenses, because Meta really did a great job with their pancake lenses, and so far they are the best in the business. It's much harder to get that same kind of quality with the spheric lenses with a great sweet spot. However, in this case, Arta and the team have definitely done the VR1 proud. It has a huge vertical sweet spot and a very impressive horizontal sweet spot, to the point where you can even put the headset on wrong and you're still in the sweet spot zone. Now, in terms of brightness, this is also a huge selling point for the VR1 because it's incredibly bright, but not in a way that you might think. It doesn't hurt your eyes, it just feels very naturally bright. And I've found because of this that when I'm flying, like you can see here, the image just looks so much more naturally real. It's a hard thing to explain, but it just feels more correct to my eyes, as if I would be doing this in real life. And when you go back to any other VR headset, it just feels very dim in comparison. Another reason why the VR1 is sharper than the Crystal, even though they share the same panel, is because of their clever NVIDIA sharpening algorithm that they use in the software. And I've no idea how they've got this to work. But if you imagine Alma Lens, which many of you tried on the Crystal, but on steroids, it makes a huge difference, especially when you're looking at the PAPI lights or the aircraft carrier. It is so pin sharp that, again, I have never seen anything to rival it so far. Now, in terms of distortions, there has been a few revisions that I've tested out, and currently there is still some warping that I can experience in the sort of left and right of center. This is something that is very, very slight. And funny enough, even in my through the lens video, which you're seeing right now, not one person commented about any distortion that they noticed with this through the lens footage. So I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue for most of you. However, at the moment it is definitely there, but I am going to be testing out a new warping profile literally in the next couple of days. Now, chromatic aberration, while it's there, it definitely is, and I think it's unfeasible to expect no CA at all with the spheric lenses. However, I don't think it's too bad. You will notice it on the outer edges of the lenses, and if you are sensitive to it, you definitely will see it, but for me personally, it's not really an issue for me. Now, in terms of persistency and motion blur, that is something that I'm not very sensitive to, and I think that is because of my use case in VR. I tend to move my head around quite slowly because I'm flying general aviation aircraft. However, I have been trying to find it and see if I can notice anything, and sorry guys, it's just not something that I'm sensitive or susceptible to. So you may need to wait for other reviews of the VR1 for that. However, there is something that I am not concerned about, but something you should keep in mind, is the backlight strobing, which in essence is how many times the backlight of the display goes on and off to illuminate the pixels. And with a higher frequency, there is a less likelihood of seeing motion blur. However, the trade-off is a much duller display. In the VR1's case, it is so beautifully bright, which could mean that the pixels are being illuminated for longer, which then might incur motion blur. Again, this is something that I haven't noticed on my device, but I just don't fling the headset around like a lot of people do. So again, this is down to personal use case scenarios. In terms of local dimming, this is a feature of the VR1, although at the moment it's still work in progress. I'm looking forward to seeing a new profile very soon, so it's hard to really draw a conclusion, but so far I'm not that impressed with it, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what improvements they have in store with that one. I'll keep you posted. Let's just quickly talk about the field of view, since this is a major feature of the headset, and Somnium Space went to great lengths to widen that field of view as much as possible in the hardware by having dual aspheric lenses, which is pretty crazy. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why the headset is so large. What is the result? Well, it's something that doesn't wow you straight away, it must be said. When you first put the headset on, you do notice that the horizontal field of view is definitely more impressive. The vertical field of view is slightly less as well. It's around 96 degrees for me. and horizontally, and I have checked this now numerous times, it's around 120 to 122 degrees. Now, because of that great sweet spot, I can get away with an IPD much higher than I'm used to. Because my IPD is 65, but even at 69, I can get away with it, which means the field of view gets to around 124, 125 degrees, which is very impressive, I must say. However, as I say, it's not mind-blowing, but it does make a difference, especially when you can see like the trees going by, especially in a race sim, and even when coming to land, you just sense that extra speed. And it's not until you go back to another headset that suddenly it feels quite cramped and like you're looking through a pair of binoculars again. So it is there and it's a very good feature, but don't expect to be absolutely amazed by the extra field of view. Now let's talk about performance and resolution and of course motion reprojection. So there's no way of getting around this. This is a very, very hard headset to run. Even with my 4090 at 80% resolution, which I must say still looks fantastic with NVIDIA sharpening, you're looking at around native resolution with the Pimax crystal, but with 120 odd degrees field of view and better brightness, better sweet spot, all that rest of it, you know, you're still looking at around 40 frames per second in Microsoft Flight Simulator, probably 45 if you're lucky. Now, some of that is down to the sim itself, and I do believe that MSFS 2024, which is on the horizon, will perform better in VR with the same hardware. It's also worth noting that DCS World, well, you can have a dynamic foveated rendering, and I do have a video on the channel, and I'm getting much better results. And without recording, I'm getting easily around 75-80 frames per second. Also, I've tried IL2, which I'm getting 90 frames per second all the time in that sim, which is amazing. I'll have a video of that out soon. I've also tried a few race sims, although I haven't shown them on the channel yet. I'm getting great results there as well, including Half-Life Alyx. So, you know, this is mainly focused upon MSFS, which is a absolute pig to run at the best of times. And if you think also that the VR1 is future-proofed, this will be an amazing headset for many, many years to come in terms of the image quality. And as GPUs get faster and we get better optimizations, I think this will just mature into a much more enjoyable experience. Now, in terms of the full resolution, I'll just show on the screen now what that is. As you can see, it's very high, simply because you are getting 35 ppd across a very wide image. It means that you get high clarity and great field of view, but it does come at a price. There is something to counteract that though, and that is you can cull the field of view because you're not going to see the full 140 degrees horizontal which this headset is capable of. You're more than likely going to see about 120 or so. So you can cull that down, which will give you a lot of frames back. It does make a big difference. And I will get more onto the software when we get to that section, but it is worth noting that this headset is uber configurable, and I'm pretty confident that most people with a 40 series graphics card, say a 4070 and upwards, you'll be able to get some decent performance with this headset if you're very careful with your settings. Let's just quickly talk about motion reprojection and perhaps the runtimes, because the VR1 has its own OpenXR runtime, which is great, and I have been testing it out. However, the performance isn't that brilliant right now, but I am pleased to say that they are rewriting it based upon some of my moans and feedback, but also I think that was planned anyway, and I'm looking forward to trying that out soon. You see why this video is quite hard to make, guys, because this is a very fluid and dynamic situation where things are improving all the time. With the Steam VR, it's actually working much better at the moment, and that's the runtime I prefer, but I'm hoping things will switch around once that OpenXR is where it needs to be. In terms of reprojection, well, at the moment it only kicks in at 45 frames per second, which, as I've just mentioned, is quite hard to hit, especially in MSFS. And that's in OpenXR mode as well, where you need to enable it in the menu in the sim. As far as Steam VR goes, I can't seem to get it working that well at the moment. So Right now, that's a bit of a question mark. In terms of hand tracking, well, I haven't really tested it out that much, but in Prague, I did try it out and I was so impressed with the latency. I do love how the eye and hand tracking is built into the headset. You don't need any extra modules, which means one less thing to think about and one less thing to go wrong. Now, in terms of audio, this is a bit of a sticky point because as you know on this channel, I rave about integrated audio all the time. It's convenient, it's immersive, and I just think it's so important to have on a VR headset. And unfortunately, it's not here with the VR1. Now, feasibly, you could go and buy yourself a Vive Deluxe audio strap. You can make your own if you want to because of the modularity of this headset, which is great. But out of the box, it does not have any audio with it. I do feel at this price point it should at least come with some earbuds, very much like the Vario Aero. It is a shame, but let me know in the comments below what you think, because I know some of you out there prefer a headset to have no audio because you prefer to use your own solution. Now let's talk about software and stability. This is something that really blew my mind because in over a month's use now, and you can imagine how much I've been testing this headset, I haven't had hardly any issues with the software. It's never crashed on me. It's just been rock solid, even when the headset has been on pretty much all day. This is something that I believe you are paying for. Rock solid stability and reliability. The headset just works every single time. There is no faff, no fuss. Every time I want to go flying, I put it on my head and I just go flying. There's a lot to be said for that. It sounds crazy, probably, but we just don't seem to have that reliability and stability in software with pretty much most headsets out there, bar perhaps the Big Screen Beyond and the Vario Aero, which have been really, really good. But when it comes to headsets such as the Pimax Crystal, it must be said that, that headset can be very temperamental at times. While you're not going to get any of those issues with the Somnium VR1, it really is superb. And, in terms of the software, I wish I could show you it because I think you'll be very impressed. But at the moment, that's still sort of under wraps. It is, though, very, very configurable. There is so many options out there. You can even change the lens to eye distance, the field of view, anything that you want to change. Well, it's in the software. And you can tweak and tweak right into the middle of the night, like many flight simmers do. So let's just quickly talk about my last point. That is the mixed reality. And then I'm going to sum up this video about what I think about the headset, whether it's now my daily driver, and whether you should buy one. Is this headset for you? Well, let's just quickly, as I say, talk about the mixed reality, because it's a huge feature of the VR1 with its dual 12 megapixel color pass-through. Well, it reminds me of the Vario XR3 and has very similar image quality. However, I will say it has better low light capabilities. And to think that this display at the moment in its prototype stage is only running about 85% of its resolution. It's very, very sharp already. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still very much a video feed, you can tell, and it does have some graininess, and so does the Apple Vision Pro, by the way. But when you have decent natural lighting, you can read very, very tiny text. And I've tried their F18 cockpit. I could read all of the gauges, no problems at all. You can read your phone absolutely fine. And together with the clever software, you can create your own masks at home. You can create any object you want and it will just import into an OBJ file into the software. I'm pretty sure that's quite a new thing for the VR industry, and only just a short couple of years ago there was no way you could even attempt that, and you'd have to allow the manufacturer to set that up for you under a license, and that is usually for the air forces. This kind of technology is now available at home. Pretty damn amazing. And I love how this isn't even a subscription model. You can just buy the headset. I think this will be great for training academies and small private flying schools. You'll be able to buy a fleet of VR1s and train pilots. It's a fantastic feature. And the quality of that pass-through is really, really good. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it compares to the Vario XR4, which by the time this video goes live, I'll probably already be testing it. So in summary, is this VR headset for you? Well, probably not, actually. I'd imagine for most people watching this and for most people on my channel, it doesn't really make sense to buy a headset this expensive, and unfortunately I can't even tell you how much this headset is because this is the top spec version and we don't know that yet. But I imagine it's going to be pretty damn pricey. There is a reason for this though. This is not coming from a big corporation, it's coming from the European market, from a new developer on the scene. And all of the components, the sensors are made in-house. The development also in terms of the quality control is much higher than that of many other headsets. There is even a very special machine that picks up any dead pixels or Mura that's going to test each and every display that goes out there. That's just pretty mind-blowing and gives you an idea of why it's so expensive. But at the end of the day, I do feel for most people the Pimax crystal makes the most sense, and I've said this before in other videos, of course. However, if you do want to live on the cutting edge of what is possible in VR and XR and have the very best VR headset on the market for flight simmers, especially when you consider the customization options, the probably thousands of different ways that you can use this headset, the image quality, the brightness, the sweet spot, the stability, the software, it is an absolutely astonishing and sensational package. In many ways, this is the Vario Aero version 2 that we've all been waiting for. It is a fantastic headset. Much like getting a very expensive premium car is more expensive, a car is just a car at the end of the day, and it depends on how you want to use it. But I must admit, I've really enjoyed my time with the Somnium VR1 so far. It is not my daily driver at this point in time, simply because it's still a prototype and there's things that still need to be fixed. However, I can't wait to show the final version and give you my final review once I have it in my hands. And who knows, by then, it could be the VR headset that I use for many, many years into the future. Now, I'm sure I've missed a ton of things in this video, so please do let me know in the comments below if you've got any more questions, and just engage in the comments below. I really do appreciate all your support on the channel so far. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye for now.